Welcome to The Girlfriend God, a podcast in search of and in service to the divine feminine, bringing you an equal mix of academic research and emotional spiritual experience. Please rate and review on your podcast streaming platform. Leave a comment on YouTube. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. Let's get in the flow. Morning. Welcome to the Girlfriend God podcast. Today, I'm happy to welcome Hope Socha. Is it Socha or is it Socha?
Socha.
Okay.
It's okay.
I never asked you that before. We've known each other for a while. Anyway, so I'm happy to welcome Hope Socha. Hope is, she's been a licensed nurse for over 30 years. But recently, in the past 2 years, she became a certified past life regression and quantum healing hypnotist, as well as shamanic hypnotist and advanced.
Ho'oponopono.
I knew I was going to mess that up, so thank you. And we'll get to that, and you can explain to a little bit more about to both me and the listeners about what that's about. And you can find Hope on Facebook at Hope's Quantum Healing Hypnosis and Past Life Regression. And her email address is soulsvoicehypnosis@gmail.com. And that's going to be in the show notes in the description for the podcast on YouTube and on all the audio podcast channels. So, Hope, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm excited to be here with you.
So Hope and I met in Peter Woodbury's, was it 4-day intensive past life regression training, and we had both been through Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis courses, which I don't know, compared to Peter Woodbury's, I felt left a lot to be desired, but we could talk about that later. I mean, pre-recorded videos versus, doing
it live in person.
And I don't know, Peter Woodbury's was very intense, but we can talk about all of that later. So I titled this episode Healing the Divine Feminine Connection with Soul Retrieval and Past Life Regression. And the reason I gave it that title was because what we're going to talk about first, I want to talk about, so I did a soul retrieval session with you, Hope, and when I came to you, because you were like, I'm still kind of new at this, so like I need a couple guinea pigs. Would you be willing to do that with me? I was like, sure. Because that's what we did in our past life regression, right? Like that was what we practiced. We did past life regression hypnosis on each other.
Yeah.
So when you came to me, like, what did you ask me? You said to come to you with like an issue, right?
Just think of an issue that you're struggling with, that you would like to resolve. And I kind of use Peter's words because I heard him say this once before in one of his lectures. He says, like, right before one of the sessions, if you could imagine waving a spiritual wand to kind of heal this thing, whatever your issue is, if you had a magical wand, like a spiritual magical wand, and you could resolve this issue, just think about what that issue would be for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I came to you with at the time I was really, and this is something that kind of waxes and wanes for me, this longing that I feel sometimes, this connection that I have today with the goddess, and how I experience the goddess in moments of joy or ecstasy, or even in, sorrow and desperation when I'm going through something. In my small human brain, I think that when I die, or when I'm in some, perpetual altered state, that I can have that feeling longer and more but it creates this kind of desperate longing in me sometimes because I know that in the physical realm that isn't possible. Like it's not quite suicidal ideation, but it's kind of like I just want to be in the non-physical to experience what I imagine I would experience. Now, having said that, it might not fucking be like that at all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
I don't know what happens next. Uh, and that's kind of the fun of it, right? Because we don't know what happens next. People are like, I'm afraid to die. I'm like, I'm not. I can't wait to see what happens next. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I came to you with that, and then do you want me to tell the listeners like what happened, or do you want to talk
Yeah.
about the process that you did with me? Okay, so you want me to just tell the
Yeah.
listeners
You can go ahead and tell what
what
happened.
that
Yeah.
was?
For
Okay.
you. Tell them about your experience first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my experience, and because I've done a lot of work like this, it's easy for me to get to that kind of lucid dreaming state. I can
Yeah.
do it myself. I've done self-hypnosis. I've been hypnotized many times for past life regression. So it's easy for me to get there,
Yeah.
which is probably why you asked me. It makes me like the perfect test subject, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so it was like kind of like a guided meditation, but not. I mean, hypnosis is different. When I
Yeah.
hypnotize people who've never been hypnotized before, I tell them it's like lucid dreaming. And if they've never experienced lucid dreaming, that this is what it's like, right?
Yeah.
It's in between state, kind of like twilight, like when you feel like maybe you're dreaming, but you're awake, that it's like
Yeah.
that. Um, so you took me to that place, and then I don't know, you asked me a series of questions, and what came
Yeah.
up for me was, and you told me, and I think this is important for any experience like this or any kind of soul work, we tell the people we work with to not have any expectations, like forget
Yeah.
about whatever it is you think this is going to be like, just
Yeah.
really try and let go of that. And you told me that. So what came up for me when you took me to that place, Hope, is all my life, my before I met my wife, um, all my life I chased unavailable women,
Yeah.
either because they were straight or they were involved with somebody else or it was unrequited, right? I mean, that was over and over and over and over and over and over and over again my whole life. And then even once I got married, I kind of repeated that process in my platonic relationships, right? Like it wasn't romantic and it wasn't sexual, but that setting myself up for rejection again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
So when you took me to that place, I think you said, remember the first time you experienced that feeling,
Yeah.
that pain. And I went all the way back. It was like I was flying through the hallways of my high school,
Yeah.
right? With like the lockers lining the
Yep.
side. I could see it. Like I was there. And I remembered the first time the first girl I was ever with
Oh
broke
yeah.
up with me and what that felt like. So what I came out of the experience with, and I had another experience with this shaman that maybe we'll have time to talk about later. What I came away from that with was, this pattern, this longing that I have for the goddess, I have had with me my whole life.
Yeah.
And this is just how it manifested. Like I was
Yeah.
looking for the love of the goddess
Yeah.
in all the wrong places, right?
Yep.
Love that another human cannot give me. So
Yeah.
now I'm going to let you talk because that was a lot. I feel like I've
Oh.
been talking for a long time.
No, that was great. That was
Experience that
great.
I had in
Yeah.
the work that you did with me, Hope. So
Yeah. So, okay, well, with the shamanic soul retrieval, it's a little bit different than hypnosis because in hypnosis, we think about brainwave states, right? And in hypnosis, we take you basically to the theta brainwave state to
Right.
get you into that deep trance so you can have your experience. Well, with this soul retrieval, it doesn't really require hypnosis, or I would say maybe you're going into an alpha state. Like if anyone's familiar with brainwave states, we're awake and talking right now. We're in the beta state. So the next state would be alpha, like when you close your eyes, or if you're really deep into a
Right.
movie or a book, or say you're taking a long drive, you kind of go into alpha state. So we're in and out of trance all day long naturally. So when we do the shamanic soul retrieval, it's a very short session. It's about 30 minutes. And so I take you into what's like the alpha state. So we basically use closing the eyes and the breath to get you there. And
So is the alpha state the same state that we're in when we meditate
yeah,
or when we
basically.
do
Yep.
guided meditation?
Oh yeah. Yeah. When you do like listen to guided meditations on YouTube, or a lot of times in past life regression sessions, they'll take you just to the alpha state. Or if you do a group regression, if you're participating in a group regression, that's usually in the alpha state. But when you do one-on-one, like quantum healing sessions, quantum healing hypnosis, we take you to the theta state, which
Right.
is where you can really connect with your higher self.
Right.
So in this shamanic soul retrieval, the idea is that when you've experienced something traumatic in your life, any traumatic event in your life, and it could be in a past life, I've had that happen as well. In this life or in a past life, if you've experienced a traumatic event, parts of your soul will fragment off and stay stuck in that time and space. And so with a shamanic soul retrieval, what we're doing is essentially taking you back to retrieve those parts of your soul that stayed fragmented in that time. And the clients usually come away feeling more whole. They describe to me a feeling of feeling more whole or and complete, or feelings of feeling lighter. And then they find that whatever issue that it is they're struggling with, really, when you go back to the root cause of it, you're able to eliminate its energetic hold on you in the body. So what I initially did with you was have you to close your eyes, take that deep breath in. And when you imagine that breath flowing from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, kind of brings you down into your body. Then I have you bring that issue that you came with to mind. And then I have you to imagine the worst case scenario of that. And it has to be the worst case scenario because this is what my mentor Lorna taught us, that your bodies are okay with the good stuff. So it has to be the worst case scenario. And when you bring to mind that worst case scenario, then you're able to scan your body and see where you're holding on to that energetically in your body. And
What
then
was
we
what was my worst case scenario? I don't remember that I would never be loved.
I, would- I can't remember, but I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe you don't even say it out loud because you're just imagining it to yourself.
Right.
That's something you wouldn't say out loud to me. You're
Okay.
just bringing
Okay.
it to mind.
Okay.
And then you're scanning your body, seeing where you're holding on to it in your body. And then I take you back to another time or place where you felt those same kinds of feelings. Go back to another time or place when you felt those same kind of feelings. And
Right.
then, you go back to when you were in high school. And then I have you like step away from the body that was you at that time, and then you would communicate with your past self, like
Right.
just like telepathy, and ultimately bring that part of your soul back in. Now, when you visit a regular shaman who journeys for you, is what they do for a
Right.
soul retrieval. A normal shaman would journey for you to bring those fragments back. But
Right.
Lorna, she developed this technique over time, which is very liberating for the client because you're actually doing it for yourself, rather
Right.
than having someone else do the journeying for you. You're actually doing it for yourself and bringing those parts back, which is very liberating for the client. Yeah. And I've even done past life regressions as well as quantum healing sessions where it came up in the session that a soul retrieval was needed to go to the original cause of whatever the issue is that the
Okay.
client was experiencing. So
Okay.
it happens like that, but I also do these sessions just as a standalone session. Like I had a friend of mine that did one with me, and he said it was really amazing that within 20 minutes I was able to help him heal this trauma that he'd been carrying for 20 years.
Right. Right.
And just how powerful that is and how impactful it can be. So yeah.
So I don't think I got to tell you the story of the shamanic journeying that I did when I was in Pittsburgh, because it relates to this soul retrieval that I did with you. So when I was in Pittsburgh, I worked with a shaman, first and only shaman I've ever worked with in my life. And like he had the blood that, he had an indigenous bloodline to prove it and all of that. And he was very skilled. And like I don't remember the questions that he asked me, but it was really the first time that I experienced that kind of, he must have taken me to theta, because
Yeah.
like I was there, you know what I mean? I could see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, touch it. And but you're right, like, so he's my guide, and he was there
Yeah.
with, like, he was in parts of the vision, like a tether, like a safety blanket,
Okay. Yeah.
um so and I was struggling when I was struggling with a woman, um big surprise, uh when I went to him, but I was also struggling spiritually.
Yeah.
um And so he took me on this journey, and it was long. I mean, we were in there for like an hour, and a lot of things happened. But what happened at the end, which I think is the most revealing, is I was standing on the shore of an ocean. I don't know where I was, like geographically in the world. It's a big ocean, blue water. So maybe that's indicative of geography. I don't think it matters. So I'm standing on the shore of this ocean with this crystal clear blue water. It's an enormous beach, like stretching for miles in either direction. I can't see the end. And I know there's no one, there's just me. And I'm talking to what I imagine is the goddess, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
She, and she, and how I often, I don't know, in this particular vision, she had dark hair, like white clothing, like, very angelic, right? Like I've had multiple different kinds of visions of the goddess doing this kind of work, but
Yeah.
this one was dark hair, really bright, piercing blue eyes,
Oh, yeah.
kind of white, flowy clothing. So we're standing on the beach, and she hasn't said anything to me yet, or maybe she did earlier and I forgot. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And she makes this gesture. She goes like this and
Yeah.
towards the ocean. And when she does, first only a few, but then dozens, and then hundreds of women start rising from the surf and coming out of the ocean,
Oh, wow.
walking onto the shore.
Yeah.
And there are so many of them, and they're women of like every color, every size, every shape, I imagine every personality, whatever. And they're walking by us, like walking around us. And she says to me, I was in all of them. And
Oh, wow.
I would, yeah, I think that's what she said. I was in all of them. I was going to say she said, and I was what you were looking for, but I think that's just the conclusion
Yeah.
I came up to when he brought me back. But so there again, right? There's that thread. So I
Yeah.
wonder, when you were talking about how, we go back to the source, right?
Yeah.
Like where we left that piece of us behind.
Yeah.
I don't know, Hope. The more I do this work, I really think that my biggest wounding comes from being born into this human experience and being separated from her in the first place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that.
So it's like that
And that's where you're feeling
longing.
that longing. Yeah, that deep
Yeah,
longing to get back to,
right.
it's like getting back to your home, really. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
So,
that makes sense. What a great insight. And see, that's what happens when we do this work. And then,
right,
days and weeks later, you're thinking about it, pondering on it, kind of processing it, and then all of a sudden you'll get downloads will come to you about
right.
what you need to
Yeah.
know about it.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've been on a spiritual journey for many, many years, but
Mhm.
like the intense soul work
Yeah.
really on the path to where I'm at now today really started when I met you, when I was in Pittsburgh, those 4 years in Pittsburgh, because those 4 years in Pittsburgh were such dark years, right? I mean, often despair leads to discovery.
That's what I was gonna say. Usually in our darkest moment, that's when we're kind of cracked wide open and open up to our
Right,
spirituality. And it usually takes that to get us to that place.
right,
Something
right,
traumatic or dark or something,
right.
major to
Yeah,
crack
because it
us wide
wasn't
open
even,
to it. Yeah.
it's it's what some of the people I talk to, we call it it's a soul sickness.
Yeah.
It's a soul sickness. It's
Yeah.
not a therapy problem. It's not a physical problem. It is a soul sickness.
Yeah, I can agree with
That's
that.
what happens to me when I feel disconnected from that
Yeah.
source that I believe in. Um, so how do you fix that? I
Well,
mean,
I was thinking what just popped in my mind to try to for yourself to try to create some sort of tangible way that you can reconnect whenever you need to. Now, oftentimes when I'm doing a past life regression session or a quantum healing session, when we're speaking with guides or like sometimes deceased loved ones will come in and give wisdom to the client, or guides will come in with to impart some wisdom, or even when we're talking to the higher self that comes in, I will always ask them if they could please give the client a symbol or a color that they could focus on anytime that they wish to reconnect with them, like
right,
instantaneously. And they
right,
always will without fail. So it's always something that's particular. And then I'll get an email or a Facebook message or something a couple of days later, and they're like, "Oh my God, you won't believe I was in this random store that I never go in, and my guide told me that my symbol was purple, and all of a sudden sitting there is this giant purple, crystal, and
right.
it had my name written all over it. And I'm like, this is the thing, or whatever the case might be.
I should go back and ask for one of those because I mean, I have come up with
Yeah,
like with my own touchstones over time, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
mantras or physical objects, like things that I keep on my altar. Um, but I would like to ask her to give me one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like something that you could, let me grab this thing in my hand right here and let me close my eyes and get into that kind of theta state or alpha state, and let me use this, like kind of like a talisman sort of thing.
Right,
And,
right,
and this is specific that I can grab this when I need to and just boom, get that instant connection,
right,
you know,
right.
something like that. So I think something like that may help you really. It's my thing on that. And what's interesting is so yesterday I was doing a quantum healing session, and within the session, the client had a few particular issues that she wanted
Mhm.
resolved. So I took her while she's in theta state, I took her back to the original cause, which the original cause for each of her issues were rooted in a past life. So
Right,
if you're doing a soul retrieval in this life or a traumatic event, something that happened in this life, you're bringing that piece of your soul back into you. You're
right,
calling that part back in to fill in those empty spaces within you. But if it happens to be in a past life, what you do is you have them look down within their chest and find a light, find their light, and then you ultimately help them guide them back to the light, to the spirit side,
okay,
so because they're stuck there in that time and space where this event happened that's energetically carried over into this life. So when you
right,
take
right,
that soul back to the spirit side from that past life, then you're healing the soul, on you're healing all aspects of the soul at the
right,
same time. Whatever affected the soul in that life, whatever it's still affecting you in this life. So by doing that, you're just healing all aspects of the soul.
right.
Yeah. So I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I wonder if for myself and some of the people that I know, I've often wondered if we are healing trauma from past lives by choosing the work that we're
Oh
choosing.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
mean,
Yeah.
like in my, my little network of this sisterhood, people like you and the other people that come on the show, that do this kind of work, um, that at some point, right, we all felt a calling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe we don't all call it that, but we are all spiritual people. So, part of
Yeah.
what all of us, why we do what we do is because we feel like it's what we're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's like something you can't help but do.
Right,
It's your calling. Like you're gonna, no matter what obstacle comes in your way, no matter what comes up, you're gonna do it no matter what.
right. And
Yeah.
sometimes the obstacles are just us, right?
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's pipe dream, or how is that going to support me financially,
Yeah.
or how am I going to make that work, or you know what I mean? Or
Yep.
it's just something that like you're not sure if it's for you. Like, okay, so when we're talking about like past wounds and from past lives in terms of
Yeah.
callings. So recently I've been having this discussion with a few of the women in my sisterhood about claiming the term priestess for myself, because my
Yeah.
personality type is, people say that they're wounded healers. I'm
Oh
not a
yeah.
wounded healer. I'm a reluctant leader, right?
Yeah.
So I feel a calling to do a lot of things, but then I'm like, man, I don't want like followers or whatever. Not like follow, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the face of a movement or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, when we were talking, I was thinking maybe I was a priestess of something
Yep.
in a past life, in an
Yeah.
ancient life where being a priestess at a temple probably did come with a 24/7 feeling and connection to the divine.
Yeah. And that's what, yeah, definitely. And that's why
Because,
you're so drawn to what you do. Yeah.
right. And that's why I'm starting to allow myself to kind of take ownership of that term,
Yep.
because it left a bad taste in my mouth because I was involved in this during the pandemic, this
Yeah.
this neo-pagan group, and so many people I think like abuse that term. They're like, well, I'm a priestess, and my response was always like okay, like a priestess of what, and what did you
Yeah.
do to earn that title, and what kind of training did you go through? But now
Yeah.
now the women in my life have convinced me. They're like, yeah, if you call yourself a priestess, what that really means at the end of the day is that you're in service to your community,
Yeah.
and your
I agree.
community is a spiritual community, and a goddess loving spiritual community at that. So how could you not call yourself a priestess? You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yep.
oh, all right, all right. Um,
Absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah.
but I
Definitely.
hadn't thought about that
Yeah.
as possibly a past life
Yeah.
link,
And
you
that's
know.
why you resonate so deeply with that. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes, like when I just daydream or whatever, that's the shit
Mhm.
I daydream about, like ancient
Oh
altars
yeah.
and
Oh.
lighting candles, and you know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
that's what our next session is going to be. We're going to take you on a past life regression and get you there to see what
all
happened.
right, all right. I dig it. I'm down with that. I
Yeah.
did some. So have you? Well, first of all, can you tell me about the? And I'm going to let you say it because that's the word that I can't pronounce. I can pronounce it, but I always screw it up.
Ho'oponopono.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
About
what
what
got
it is, about the training you went through, and how it heals.
okay. Well, there's an ancient form of Ho'oponopono. It originated in Hawaii.
Okay.
And it's an ancient form of healing and forgiveness. So there was a lady named Morna. I can't pronounce her last name. So she kind of modernized the old fashioned way,
Okay.
which the ancient, some of the original Hawaiians, I think, don't really appreciate that she did that. But she sort of modernized it because the ancient way was you had to be in a group and it was like a family thing and a group thing. But the way she modernized it, you could do it individually. And then she had a student, and I can't pronounce his name, so I shorten it. Dr. Hugh Lin. It's Ihaliakula Lin. I can't pronounce his full name, but Dr. Hugh Lin, essentially. And so he was a avid student of hers of this whole Ho'oponopono, the modern practice. And so he was a psychologist, and they hired him to work at the Hawaii State Hospital for the criminally insane. So when he got there, he says these people are like all like chained together, they're handcuffed, like they have no activities, there's nothing going on, they don't work, they're just all basically in their cells chained up because
Mhm.
they're aggressive and violent. And the staff was, a mess, and the whole place was a mess. The paint was peeling, and the whole place was a mess. So
Mhm.
what he did was what he called cleaning, and what he calls cleaning is doing the Ho'oponopono, which is the 4 phrases. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And he says, by doing that, what happens is anything that comes up in your life, you're taking full responsibility for it, no matter what it is. So the fact that he's in this hospital with the criminally insane, he's ultimately taking responsibility for that. And he says all it is data, and like all the way back from your ancestors somewhere it's just data. So what you're doing is clearing the data with the phrases. You're cleaning the data, bringing you back to the zero state. So he says he never spoke to any of these criminals, these patients in there, but what he did was he would take their chart and he would examine their chart, go through their chart, and he would do the phrases, the Ho'oponopono phrases on each chart. And within 2 years, he healed that entire hospital. And they ended up, but before the people got out of the chains, they got out of their cells, they were doing gardening, they were working, the staff even got better. He said somebody came in and painted the walls, the whole place like got better, and he ultimately healed this hospital. So there's articles and stories about him doing this, all from doing the Ho'oponopono.
I was gonna say, could you email me when we're done here today? Can you email me
Yeah.
a reputable
The-
source article that I can put in the show notes when I post the
oh
episode?
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So Joe Veit.
YouTube videos or whatever, anything you can link me to, I'd
Oh,
appreciate it.
okay. Yeah, sure.
I
And
like source material.
so yeah, definitely. This stuff fascinated me when I read that. So Dr. Joe Vitale, he was from The Secret, the book The Secret, the movie The Secret. So he caught wind of Dr. Hugh Lin, and he couldn't believe it really at first, but then he
Mhm.
kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And then he's like, I gotta find this doctor. I gotta find this doctor that healed this hospital and find out about this. So he contacted Dr. Hugh Lin, and they met. They all ended up ultimately writing a book together called Zero Limits, which it talks about using the Ho'oponopono to take you back to zero. And they ended up doing seminars all over with the Ho'oponopono, teaching it. Dr. Hewlin would teach it. And it became like a tool that people could use to heal themselves and others. And so Dr. Joe Vitale now has a certification course out. Like you get a practitioner certification in Ho'oponopono and advanced Ho'oponopono. So I took both, and I just recently became certified in advanced Ho'oponopono. And in that advanced class, they taught us a Ho'oponopono hypnosis, and they do it as like a group thing. So that's going to be my next thing. I'm going to do a Ho'oponopono hypnosis, like a group thing, and
Okay.
do it like a workshop or something, and offer it to for people to join. That I learned. One of the teachers came on and says, "This is what she does with her group." I can't remember her name now, but this is one of the advanced techniques. So you take index card, a basic index card, and no more than 6 at a time, and you write down on the card whatever issue it is that you want clearing on or cleaning on, as Dr. Hewlin called it, or help with. So I've got 6 index cards, wrote down these things that I need healing with and that I need help with. And I write the issue down on the card. And then I get a pink eraser, like the kind that kids use in kindergarten, the big giant pink eraser, because he ultimately calls this erasing. You're erasing the data, you
Right,
know?
right.
So I get these 6 cards, and every day I do this religiously and get my pink eraser and I just tap on it, tap on the cards. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And this is a constant thing that's running in the back of my mind all the time. Like I'm constantly cleaning because whatever comes up around me, I'm like, oh, I need to clean on that. I'm just need to clean on that. So I'm always trying to bring myself back to that zero state. But I found that I'm down to 2 cards now because some of the things are happening they're resolving themselves or they're healing or whatever. So
Right,
I started out with the 6 cards and I'm doing the tapping with the eraser on it,
right.
every day, just ever so often or when I think about it. But now I'm down to 2 cards that I'm still tapping on. So I'm just able to eliminate some of them. So things are working out in my favor. Now I don't know if it's the Ho'oponopono or not, but I'm believing it is.
Right, right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with intention. I think intentions are very powerful. So I set the intention that this thing is going to work. I'm going to
Right,
do this. One of the stories that the lady told in the advanced training was that she had a client that was doing the Ho'oponopono practice with her. And she had ovarian cancer of some sort, and she was going in for a surgery. And so she thought to her, why not take the eraser and just tap on your ovary and do the Ho'oponopono, just tap on your ovary.
yeah.
And and she had the surgery and she healed and right after the surgery, she came home and she passed a humongous black mass. And so she called her doctor and she says, I just wanted to let you know that I've passed this humongous black mass. And he says, well, I don't know what you're talking about because the surgery that we did, I mean, nobody's ever had a black mass. Nobody's ever. And so she equated that to doing the Ho'oponopono, like it rid her body of the toxicity or
Right.
whatever it was holding on to. So, yeah. I'm just going to see how far I can go with this practice and what I can do. But my next thing is to create this group hypnosis, Ho'oponopono hypnosis. And the recommendation is that we record it and you listen back to the recording for 21 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. I wanted to share with you, if I could, one of my most profound session experiences with the shamanic soul retrieval. So I had this guy that he's extremely skeptical of all of this type work, very non-spiritual type person, but he heard of me and wanted to give it a try. And I would say, very religious Baptist background. So he was like, okay, let's give it a try. Very skeptical.
Good for
So
him.
yep. So we got him into the state where he, and he brought up the issue, went back. So he goes back all the way till he's like a 6 or 7 year old child, and he finds himself like hiding in the closet away from, his parents, like, and he doesn't know what he's hiding from, but he's obviously in trouble and he's traumatized and he's crying and he's upset. So I had him connect with his 6 year old self, and have
Right.
this conversation, mind to mind conversation, letting him know that he's returned from the future, to help him and bring him back. And the little boy looks at him and says, why did you wait so long?
Mm.
And that right there got me. And there were just tears on both sides. And he brings this little part of him back, the little boy part of him back in. And what a healing thing. And I think to myself, how many of us have that inner child, that little child somewhere that got stuck
Right.
and why did you wait so long?
I
He
wish
said.
more, I wish more therapists, practicing therapists included this in their practice because like I did inner child work, which was very intense and very deep
Yeah.
and very difficult. Um, and they, I mean, they in their own way take you through a guided meditation, like they'll tell you to
Mhm.
imagine yourself at that age, but I think it would be even more powerful if they did something like
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
incorporate that as part of your talk therapy or CBT
Yeah.
therapy or whatever kind of therapy you're doing. And I think that's like an upward trend because I know in certain parts of the US where things like this are prevalent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
out west, like places in California or in Sedona, or you know what I mean? So we'll see. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the benefits of metaphysical based work
Oh yeah.
is being recognized by the medical community more and more. Um,
And what you're doing, ultimately doing, is you're speaking to the divine. I'm sorry for,
right, right,
please forgive me. You're ultimately speaking to the divine. And when you get yourself back to that zero state, that's when you can receive inspiration from divinity
right,
and then act on that inspiration. So that's the basis of it all. Now,
right,
when I get down and out sometimes, or I need a pick me up, or I need something to really get me back to that, Joe
right,
Vitale, he took up music and guitar, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he's got a Ho'oponopono song. And it's really cool because then I find myself walking around with like that tune in my head, the way he sings
right.
it, and then my little one, he hears me singing it. He's like, "Mom, that's not the way." But yeah, that is the way because so it's really cool. So if you want to look him up on YouTube, just look up Joe Vitale Ho'oponopono song, and it's so cool. But if I could share with you, my mentor Lorna, when I first started out, um, she had me to transcribe a bunch of her sessions for her book so that I could really learn how she works and learn the shamanic technique. And I wrote the forward to her book. I was really honored when she asked me to write the forward to her
Nice.
book. So I don't think my background's not letting me show it. It's
Yeah,
called Quantum Shift, Healing the Fragmented Soul. And that you can find that on Amazon. But anybody who is a practitioner that's listening, you can learn this soul retrieval technique. You can learn it in this book, and she gives you techniques in this book that it's even if you're not a practitioner, you can practice some of these techniques on your family and friends. Well, just that if anybody's interested in a shamanic soul retrieval session, a standalone session, or any of my others, I do work remotely on Zoom. So I work with people all over the world. So
yes,
thank goodness for technology. And I'm able to do remote sessions anywhere in the world, from anywhere in the world. And I've even been known to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to serve my clients in Hawaii because it was just 8 p.m. their time. It was the only
right,
time they
right,
could do it. So, and that goes back to something that Tony Robbins had said about, being able to, when you're a successful person, you're going to be willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do. So
right,
I'm usually willing to alter my schedule or get up any time of the morning or the
right,
day
right.
to accommodate my people on the other side of the world.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So at the end of the show, I ask all the guests the same three questions. Are you ready?
I guess.
Don't worry, they're fun. They're fun questions. But some of them, people are like, wow, that's hard. But it's like
Okay.
fun kind of hard.
Okay.
So, okay. So the first question is, tell me a fun fact about yourself. Doesn't have to be fun, but fun is preferred. Uh, but again, it doesn't have to be fun. Just tell me something about yourself that people who know you would be surprised to learn.
Oh, gosh, I can't think of anything right off the bat. That is a hard one. I'm not prepared for that one. Fun fact, something that people that know me would be surprised to learn.
Any dirty
Uh,
little secrets?
oh yeah, I love junk food. I mean, I'm addicted to junk food. So, yeah, I'm trying to get to a more healthy diet. But, maybe a lot of times people equate being spiritual with like eating healthy and that sort of thing. And I have a tendency to love Big Macs and iced coffee,
Okay.
so
All right.
a lot of times that's frowned upon in the spiritual world.
I didn't think about that, but you're right. And if that's
Yep.
the case, then I am in
Yeah.
trouble because I am
Yeah.
not at all. I do not. I mean, I try,
I do try to.
but like I I coffee is like a 24/7
Me
appendage
too.
for
Well,
me.
one thing I learned about coffee is it contains a lot of those what's it, that word? It starts with pH, phenols, something like that. But anyway, it helps with anti-aging. So it has an abundant amount of whatever that is. I'll have to find out. But it helps with anti-aging and preventing wrinkles. So we're good in that department. I drink coffee all day long.
Great.
Yeah.
I take, because I have some health problems, I take so many pharmaceutical medications that are slowly killing me. Like, I'm not going to give up coffee. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, okay. So, second question. What is your current favorite TV series or movie?
Oh, New Amsterdam, hands down. I love New Amsterdam. Yeah.
All right. All right. See, that was an easy one for
That
you.
was. Yeah.
And finally, if your life were a movie, what would be the theme song on the soundtrack?
I think about that Eminem song. You only get one shot. That one. Is that the name of it?
I'm an Eminem fan. So.
Eminem, one shot.
Is that what it's called? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So the name of the song is Lose Yourself.
Okay, Lose Yourself. I always call it one shot. Okay.
I can see why you would call it that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get to do this again.
Yeah. And next time I'd like to bring on my friend Kimberly, who is an Akashic Records reader and psychic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
She's expressed to wish to come on the show with me so we could all three be on there together.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay, Hope. Well, you have a beautiful morning, and
thank you.
I wish you the peace and the love of the goddess.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Thanks for watching or listening. If you want more of The Girlfriend God, you can find The Girlfriend God and The Girlfriend God podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. The Girlfriend.